Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of Rock Bottom. And I'm your host, Kathy, and someone who's been blessed to walk this journey of recovery for over 10 years. Every week, I bring you powerful real life stories from people who have faced rock bottom and fought their way back. People who are here to show you that no matter where you've been, there's always hope on the other side. Today, I'm so excited to welcome Chrissy. Chrissy is a woman who knows what it's like to fight her way out of darkness and into the light. She's here to share her journey, her struggles, her victories, and how she's using her experience to inspire and help others today. Chrissy, thank you so much for being here today, hon. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. So, listen, before we get into the recovery part of your story, tell me a little bit about what life was like for you growing up.
So I didn't really drink when I was really young, but I started probably experimenting here and there. I think it was like, was it middle school? There was these guys and I was with all these people and I drank really for the first time and got really sick and didn't drink really in until high school. And so growing up, my parents actually didn't drink. My dad went to recovery himself when I was very little. So I don't really ever remember my parents drinking growing up, but really it was kind of just what everybody did through certain phases of my life. So it kind of seemed normal. So in high school, there was one year where my friend's brother would buy alcohol and like beer, and we would drink. But then I went through periods where I didn't drink. But again, it was also normalized. And then I went to college where there was tons of binge drinking, tons of things that you do just because it's what everybody's doing. So to me, growing up, I didn't really ever remember hearing about how bad alcohol was. I heard about drugs. I remember
Right.
even thinking to myself, like, I can't do E because it's going to put a hole in my brain. But no one told me that, like, alcohol is really bad and addicting. So I didn't grow up thinking that way. So through college, and then I, graduated, and, really alcohol didn't impact, like, really, like, I felt impact me, even though I remember shaking before, I remember drinking too much um, you know, drinking like, oh, I just remember when I was in grad school, everyone would just binge drink. And I remember waking up one day, walking to breakfast, needing to take breaks because I drank so much the night before, I was like shaky and felt like I was going to pass out. And I just thought that was normal. So in my 30s, that's where alcohol started, I feel like, to actually like make me think about, do I want to keep doing this? And because again, I would do what everybody else seemed to be doing. So I just didn't think like it was a problem until it became a problem. Early, like early in my 30s, I had my son, but prior to that, I actually started blacking out a lot. And specifically one summer, it was just a lot.
Okay,
And
so I'm going to stop you right there for a second because we're kind of getting a little further ahead. I want to go back to growing up, right?
okay.
Was it a happy childhood? What was it like growing up?
So I don't remember. So my dad was very severe. He would be drinking vodka throughout the day. And so he had a very severe alcohol use disorder. I don't really remember parts of my childhood. So I redid first grade. So when the first grade I was in, it was when my dad was probably in active addiction. I don't remember a lot of it. And I think potentially maybe I blacked it out because it was traumatic. That's
Right.
my only thought. I don't remember it very much. And I don't remember my childhood being awful, but I did not have a relationship with my father that was a very strong relationship. My dad did get sober. We moved. My parents divorced. They fought all the time. And I remember, you know, being made fun of a lot for my weight and things like that. So that was, and it wasn't terrible, but I remember just getting made fun of through most of elementary school. I also didn't try out for certain things that I wanted to do, like plays and different things in school, because I didn't think I'd be good at it. So that's a little bit about my childhood. I have a brother. My brother never really got into drinking or anything like drugs or anything like that. But I would have to say that, like, we probably have an emotional eating component, although it's
Right.
something I've worked on. But I really feel like early in my childhood, I probably self-soothed with food. And I'm sure, like, in the addiction world, you probably see that actually quite a bit.
I lived it. I was 317 pounds at one point.
Wow.
I'm 140 now, so I get that. And I understand. That's why I was asking, kind of about the childhood. It's because not everybody's going to have a rosy childhood, right? Chances are you're probably not, at least most of us anyway, right? The abuse, whether it's abuse or anything like that, but something that you said did perk my ear, and that is the cyclical nature of addiction. Your dad, and then now you, right? In how many generations back do you know? Does it go in your family?
I don't really know of anybody else. I don't know if his dad, I would have to almost ask him. His dad died early of emphysema. But the rest of the children in the family never drank.
Right.
I would have to ask him if it went back further than him. But he was the main person out of all the kids to drink.
Right. Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. When did you first start noticing that addiction was playing a major role in your life? Was it gradual or was there like a hardcore defining moment?
I think when I started blacking out and it was I want to say like around my 30s, maybe a little before. I never really thought anything I did was a problem because I didn't drink every day. I was functional. Um, I would only drink during certain times. So I really was like, I think that's what probably made me keep doing what I was doing because I thought everything I was doing was like what normal people did. And then the issue was is that when I would black out, I had one particular summer that I blacked out quite a bit. I would say things I didn't mean. It was really anxiety provoking to wake up. So that's when I remember one time Googling, am I an alcoholic? And I remember looking at everything going, well, I don't have all these. So, I think in my mind, I could justify again, I wasn't that bad, right? I wasn't drinking vodka throughout the day. So I think my thoughts of what a problem looked like are very different than what I, obviously experienced since I've gotten sober and decided to stay sober.
Okay. So what was the shift that made you say, that's it, enough is enough? Was there a specific event or was it more of a gradual realization? I know
I
you
think,
said you Googled it, but
yeah.
what after that?
So I think it was gradual, and then there were certain events where I'm like, I don't think I can do this anymore. So I thought about not drinking prior to sobriety, probably 5 years. For 5+ years, I would think I should stop drinking. I should stop drinking. And it would usually be on a Sunday or a Monday where I drank too much the night before. I either blacked out or I felt hungover. I didn't feel good. And so that happened for quite a bit. But again, I didn't think I fit the mold of someone who had a problem. So I never did anything about it. We moved to Florida in 2021. And my drinking, I didn't black out like like used to. It was a little bit better, but I would still get emotional. And then sometimes I'd be fine, but it was those emotional times where it's almost like I couldn't control how I was. I had no control over my emotions. And I was crying, and it was just too much. It was too much. So the last time, the actual last time I drank, it was awful. So I don't know if you want me to keep going because I can tell you kind of where I decided to change my relationship with alcohol.
Well, that's what I was just fixing to say.
Yeah.
What were your next steps? What made you decide to get clean and sober? And then what did you do? Treatments, meetings, faith, therapy, what?
So I decided in January of 2022 that I put in my manifestation journal. I wanted to change my relationship with alcohol. I wanted to feel healthy and better. I still couldn't even say sober at the time because I thought that was like implying something, right? So I couldn't even say sober, but I knew I needed to change my relationship with alcohol. So at that particular time, I downloaded an Audible, This Naked Mind by Annie Grace,
Mhm.
and stayed sober for 6 months. So in month two, I had anxiety. I thought about how am I supposed to go on vacation? Keep in mind, everybody around me was drinking. I was the only one doing this by myself. I did stop for 6 months by myself
Wow.
by reading I was really surprised. I didn't know how bad alcohol was for you. I didn't know it was a class one carcinogen. I didn't know how bad it was. And I was like, wow. But what made me drink again was one, I had no support. Like I had no support. I got such bad anxiety. The neighbors next door kept asking me why I was not drinking, and I would keep making up things. And felt really almost ashamed to tell people I wasn't drinking. I felt weird. Again, I had still that stigma like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I don't want people to judge me. So I drank again after 6 months and convinced myself I could moderate. And
Mhm.
it was really hard to moderate. I actually did kind of moderate. So I went on that vacation I had anxiety with. Gave myself 2 drinks per day, which was awful because what would happen was I started feeling the actual depressant in alcohol. I started feeling it because I didn't keep drinking. It wasn't enjoyable. I remember like being annoyed by everybody, wanting to go to bed. It just didn't seem that great. So in November of 2022, I remember having the most stressful day at work. I remember being disconnected from my husband at that time. We went on date night. And keep in mind, I really did slow down my drinking and try to moderate myself, which I did kind of, kind of. It's very hard to know how to moderate with alcohol,
Right.
let's be honest. And I had 2 glasses of wine, which I did not black out, but I couldn't control my emotions once again. Realized I people pleased. Realized instead of dealing with my emotions, they were coming out in alcohol, like when I was drunk. So I was crying at that night when we got home. I had GI upset, terrible GI upset. I slept awful. And I woke up the next day and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So in January of 2023, so I stopped in for like now it's been forever since November of 2022. In January of 2023, I joined an online program. It wasn't AA, but it was a program to help women to stay sober, to think about purpose and more kind of growth oriented type things. I'm telling you right now, I probably would have drank again if I didn't join that because it helped me with like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. Again, I had nobody in my life besides my dad was sober, but like it wasn't like the people I hung out with the most. So having that group was really, really instrumental to help really change my brain around how I thought about alcohol.
Right, right. Now that's pretty cool. Um, so what were some of the hardest parts about the first days and weeks and months of your sobriety?
So the hardest part, I think, for me was, like I said, that vacation. Like, how would I suppose, like a new identity almost? Like, I drank when I went on vacation. So that was really hard for me. And the missing out. And someone actually told me about the fear of missing out. Like, I don't think I would have been able to understand what that was. But like everybody was drinking, it looked so exciting. I think that I was programmed to think that alcohol was fun. So without it, I started actually thinking, oh, maybe this isn't fun because of alcohol. And then someone told me that like, well, or is it not fun because you actually really don't like what you're doing? And I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so smart. And so I think the earlier stuff was more like, who am I? How do I go out? How do I connect with people now that I'm not drinking and I don't have that surface level thing that's connecting us? So that was hard. my relationship with my ex, at that time, you know, he continued drinking and not that I was telling people to stop drinking, but like it was hard. No one really understood me. So it was kind of lonely. And I think really early on before I got support, I almost felt, I think, a little depressed. Um, like, how am I supposed to do this? And so I totally understand why people can go back to it if you have no one in your corner.
Hmm. So let me ask you this. Who is your support system? What does it look like today? Who are some of the key people and resources that help you?
So I am very much in the sober space. I'm do what you do. I coach and I like immerse myself in it. Um, I have obviously my family, all my friends, a lot of them moved actually. So I live in Florida now and people are kind of scattered, but I still have a really good support system. Now, my friends do drink, but a lot of people have kind of changed their relationship with alcohol, if that makes sense. So, some of us are in our 40s and 50s. So we're not the same people we were like 10 plus years ago. So people want to
Right.
do more activities, but I really feel like I stay in the sober space a lot because it helps me. And
Yes.
I also, you know, I'm not going into detail about this, but like even with dating people now that I'm single, I can't date people that are big drinkers. I absolutely won't do it. Not because I'm so concerned about myself drinking. I mean, I wrote a book like you did. I'm pretty clear I want to stay sober, but it's just not the kind of people I want to be around. So I try to
Right.
center myself with people who have like we're kind of similar. I don't go to AA, not because I don't think, not because I think there's anything wrong with it. But I didn't get sober by AA. But like I said, I just try to,
I
um,
didn't either.
yeah,
I didn't either.
yeah. But I hang out with like, so again, I coach people and I stay in the sober space. So like, it's very important to me. Even there's like this non-alcoholic shop in Florida. I'm gonna go there tomorrow and we're gonna like talk a little bit. But just being
Hmm.
around people, even health industries like yoga or people that are, you know, are interested in health. And also I do stay away. Like if, I'm not judging them. I get everybody's different, but like places that do like yoga and wine, like that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, no, thank you.
Don't go. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because it's amazing how many pathways we all didn't use the same, so we're not all going to recover the same, right? Everybody's path looks different. Mine was trauma laced, honey. Let me tell you, right? So I could pinpoint. Was there something that you could pinpoint your addiction to alcohol to?
I think after I unpeeled things, I think there was things I didn't understand. So things that happened in my childhood. So the people pleasing to keep the peace, right? I didn't realize that's what I did. And even when I was the last time I drank, I was sending pictures of my wine to my friend and thinking my ex at the time wanted me to drink and thinking that people wanted me to drink versus going against my actual thoughts that I should stop drinking, right? So that started in childhood somewhere along the line for me to kind of just keep the peace.
Right.
I had a lot of limiting beliefs. So when I mentioned I didn't try out for plays, I thought I was bad at math. I thought there's things I quit. I quit a lot of things instead of trying them. So through taking more risks, right? From not drinking, I went on all these different pathways. They stretched me and I wanted to quit 20 times, but I didn't. And I realized I did that before in the past. And so though like I don't think those were my like driving factors for drinking, I think it was all connected necessarily, right? Like, and I think for me it was like didn't feel worthy of myself, didn't understand myself. I was a little bit disconnected from myself. And I don't think I necessarily drank to downplay those emotions. I think I did what I thought everybody did at that time. And as I got
Right.
older, I that's what I did, but I also think there's a factor of when you don't really believe in yourself, when you don't feel like you're worthy. And I wasn't an unsuccessful person, by the way. I have like a degree, My life didn't look like it was in shambles, but there were
Right.
things that I just was so disconnected from, and alcohol was exciting to me. So this is the biggest kicker for me. I wasn't someone that drank all the time by myself or when I was bored. I was someone that drank socially, and it was so exciting on Fridays and the weekends to look forward to that. What does that say about your life throughout the week if that's what you're excited for? And it was my
Right.
friends too. I loved my friends, but there was a huge component of wanting to drink. And I remember one time, and I was I didn't really think about this until I stopped drinking. I wanted to hang out with one of my friends because I had a stressful day and I wanted to drink with her really bad, and she couldn't. And I remember feeling upset. I remember feeling like upset that she couldn't come over and drink with me. So I was
Mm.
like, and I like reflected on that. And I'm like, interesting, because I think there's things that you don't know until you stop drinking, right? Like you just don't know that they're underneath the surface. So I think with me is drinking really just masked some of the deeper work that I wasn't aware of that I had to do.
You hit the nail on the head, my friend, because whether it's trauma, whether it's limiting beliefs, right? It doesn't matter. Whatever it is that we're struggling with, not thinking we're worthy enough, not thinking we're good enough, right? And those are all and society makes alcohol look so beautiful, right? That's legal. You can go do it when you're 21. Go have fun.
Yep.
And yeah, man, it's just so let's move it to today. How has your life changed since finding recovery? What are some blessings that you never imagined that you've got today?
So I've so the blessings are so many is I've met so many amazing people in this space. I've also, and I want to say this because I think I really want to highlight this. We sometimes have to let go of people in our journey to get the things we want. So unfortunately, I did get divorced, which to me it's a sad thing, but it's also something that had to happen. And I didn't know this until I stopped drinking that this was all going to happen. So I think it prepared me for really hard stuff that I probably wouldn't have even known because it took me on this journey of learning about money, learning about myself. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So, like I told you, the limiting beliefs and working on all these deeper things led me to realize I need more growth in my life. I didn't have that. And that was one of the things that alcohol actually provided me, which it didn't really provide me, but it was a false
Right,
fulfillment, right? It was giving me something that I wasn't getting in my life, but it still wasn't giving me it, obviously what I actually needed. So I have a coaching business. I still work full time in my job, but I do coaching. So I'm helping women. I had one woman that messaged me. She's 2 years sober. Um, I wrote a book, which is really cool. I've actually written 3 books. Well, 4, but 3 are published. 2 kids books or children's books, and then a nonfiction book on sobriety. Um,
wow,
yeah. And so I never in a million years would I think I'd be an author, and I'm sure you might
right,
even think the same about yourself, right? Like,
yes,
and obviously not everybody in the sober space does sober stuff, right? But
right,
um, I think doing that, getting to know myself more and working on myself has been it's been hard, but it's been something so wonderful because I can even help my son out. So my son's 10, and when we talk about growth mindset and overcoming obstacles, like
yeah,
that is such a blessing. And I've met so many amazing people and I just feel more confident. And I've also, I remember you telling you about my emotional eating. Now, I wasn't eating like things every night, but like when stressful things happened, I still noticed in sobriety, I'd go to another addiction. I went to food, which was still there when I was a child. So I never really healed that relationship. It's not perfect today, but I'm able to work on that as well now that I don't have this other thing because I would do lots of unhealthy things like when I would drink, like I would not eat carbs and do certain things. So I try to stay skinny. And it was just this really dysfunctional relationship with food and
Honey,
alcohol.
and in recovery, we say progress, not perfection, right?
Exactly.
Progress, not perfection, because perfection, number one, is an illusion. It doesn't exist. That was a big thing I dealt with, is perfectionism. Um,
Same.
but
Same.
something you said about also that made me think, because you aren't in the AA type group like I wasn't either. But we also often talk about people, places, and things, and how important those things and how they must change in sobriety. If you're sober, you got no business being around drinking people. You just don't, right? That's why put your sobriety at risk. Why even open that door? And we have to meet people where they're at, and sometimes we have to leave people where they're at. And that's okay, as long as you're doing it in growth, right? So I'm really proud of you and for how far you've come, my friend. Wow, what accomplishments. So before we end, I always ask everybody, what does the other side of rock bottom mean to you?
I think it's abundance and peace. I think my word for 2025, and I think all along I was looking for more peace, more happiness. And I really feel like that is the other side, right? We want these things so we can do something, right? We want abundance and happiness so we can live a fulfilling life, so we can, have a legacy or have more purpose. And so we do this. Maybe initially your why will be one thing, but it can change. Your why can absolutely change, and it will. It will the longer you're in this journey. So it's a beautiful thing. I no longer am worried about staying sober. I'm confident about my sobriety. I tell people it's like the best thing I've ever done. And as you get that, it's like a muscle, right? You keep doing this, it gets stronger.
Right. And we will do it one day at a time, right?
Yes. And I actually
One
even
day.
have a tattoo. It's a monarch, well, and it's backwards, but it's a monarch butterfly for my 1 year sober date for transformation.
Oh, that's gorgeous, honey. Congratulations. I am so proud of you, and please keep doing what you're doing. Chrissy, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story so openly and so honestly, honey. I know there's someone listening right now who needs to hear exactly what you had to say. Friends, if Chrissy's story has touched your heart today, please share this episode with someone who might need the help. Recovery is possible, and your past does not define your future. So until next time, remember, no matter how far you've fallen, there's always the other side of rock bottom. I love you guys.
Are you terrified to face tomorrow? Some mornings feel impossible. But even in the darkest moments, hope is closer than you think. You're not alone. There's hope. Written by Kathy Simmons, a certified recovery coach. Welcome to Recovery is your powerful guide to reclaiming your life. With real stories, practical tools, and compassionate insight, this book lights the way, one page at a time. Whether you're beginning, recommitting, or supporting someone through recovery, find hope, clarity, and strength within these pages. Step into your new chapter. Welcome to Recovery. Take the first step. Get your copy of Welcome to Recovery today and begin your journey to hope.